got all the measurements for the front mounts on the motor and ground off all the paint. Now I'm going to remove the front beam. And then we're going to weld everything up, paint it up nice and clean. Well, here's the beam out of the car. Getting it all prepared to be welded up. Checking clearances. Looking pretty good. Except I cut out more out of the front than I needed to because after I realized where the motor sat, I wanted to move it back. So I'll just be welding that back in. Plus the steering plate, it's going to go across there. That'll tie it all back together. Kind of like that. I had to torch this one down and radius it for the steering motor. But I think I'm going to get it all to fit. It'll be tight, but it's all going to fit right in there. Got clearance for this. On the back side, I'm going to have to notch a little bit more for the chain. And then I went and cut all that out so the sprocket can actually go behind the firewall there, because that's not the floorboard to the car, it's up inside there. So we got room for that. Alright, we got it all just tacked in place, a couple small tacks, and to keep it from warping I made a spacer, just a longer bolt, a nut. That way as I weld this one, any warpage it'll push over to this one. I weld that one, it'll fight back, and then the differential will still fit. Let's get welding. Maybe a little overkill, but I would rather it not fail. I got a lot going on here, test fitting a lot. We got the axle shafts kind of mucked in there on the ball joints. I have to come up with a good idea for this reluctance ring for the ABS, since I can't use anything in the wheel bearing anymore. So I'm going to mount a little bracket to hold the little sensor. The other one's going to go down in there. that works. I've got good clearance for the CV axle. Just got to work on the chain and get rid of the water pump. Cut away that little web, make a little nylon guide for the chain, and that ought to run fine through there. Since this thing doesn't have like compression braking, because I have that one-way sprag on the, well, I can't do it now because I should be able to. Oh, this was turning the chain. But when I downshift, it won't be pulling hard on the front of the chain. And I'm getting ready to weld the steering plate up in there. Now the steering box is very close to the oil pan here and on the front. So I got these little spacers, 1/4-inch cardboard. Not much clearance, but trying to fit all this in a little bitty smart car. Got to take every space I got. So I'm going to tack that up in there now. Alright, I got a couple tacks on it in 3 places just to get it to stay. So you see I'm up against oil pan. But there's room in there to get to the bolts and such. All kinds of room in there. Should be able to now fit the sway bar back under here. But the exhaust, it's going to have to be lengthened a lot. It's got to reach all the way. It used to go right through here. It's going to have to go down under here. So I'll be chopping up those headers somehow. So right through there is the steering shaft. That'll be a good shot. All kinds of clearance down there. Lots of chain clearance. Okay, in preparing for the future, as most engineers don't, to do an oil change, there's the drain plug with a ratchet on it. But to get the swing, I need to notch this bracket. And then that way, it'll be real easy to reach in there with a ratchet, undo the drain plug. And the oil will drain right on this plate into this V groove and come out right here in this hole, right into a drain pan. Okay, I got the axle upside down. I'm going to weld in a brace over this back cutout. And we're going to make a center gusset. Get that all welded up. And I got to cut out that notch. Okay, today we're working on the battery cooling lines. I do have some edge protector coming for here to protect the hoses. My chain goes right through here. So I had to move these back because my CV axle is actually right about up against the firewall. So I ended up cutting off about 2 inches of these stubs just to get those elbows back. You know, kind of behind the firewall. So then they had to connect down here to the battery. So I just ran new hoses and some elbows. The skid plate is down below all this anyway, so that ought to work out great. So now we're going to fill the coolant up and plug in the car for charging and see if the coolant pump runs and purge all the air out of it. And while we're down here, a little bit of information for the smart car people. That is a battery heater. It's an electric heater. And then if you have the warm weather climate package, the car also has an air conditioner to cool the battery. So back here we have a lot of valves and pumps. So we have actually 2 pumps to help boost the coolant through the battery, and then a valve to divert through the air conditioning, or it goes up to the heater. It's a lot of hoses down here. So it either takes the battery coolant through here and up to the heater, or cross through the cooler. So on cold weathers it heats it, warm weather it cools it. But generally it's just using the coolant from the radiator just to maintain the battery. So although these smart cars didn't last long and they weren't popular in America, they put a lot of thought into these, you know, for the battery management system. Heating and cooling. For the Smart, you want to use the genuine Mercedes-Benz blue antifreeze. And my tank is now moved to the rear. So pay no attention to this if you own an electric Smart, because you're going to be filling this from up under the hood. I bought an extra gallon of this when I have to purge a lot of air out. Okay, the car is charging. It's not warm enough yet to turn on the coolant pump, so I hope the charger actually gets warm enough to purge the air. Long time ago, I read about smart cars sitting and bricking the battery. When the 12-volt car battery goes dead for sitting, so I installed this volt gauge, and without turning on the key I can just flip this switch and monitor the battery voltage. So it was getting down around 11.5 volts since the car's been sitting for a month. So now with it plugged in, I can see it's charging right at about 13.8. So we'll recondition this 12-volt battery during this test too. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next video.